All right, so we are actually live. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. What's going on, everybody? Sorry, it has been a while since we did one of these live streams. So apparently, YouTube gave me a strike for a really, really dumb video, and it was a simple video which never got a strike. It wasn't even really that particularly good, so I don't really care how much it got taken down. But just so you know, all the video really was back when the Freedom Convoy was happening over in Canada. One of their parliament officials said that honk honk was akin to saying Hail Hitler, and she said that we all know that's what the real message they're trying to send. That honk honk really means Hail Hitler, and so I just made a dumb video of her saying that exact thing, and it just jumps over to a video of Hitler giving, a speech and being all Hitler-like, screaming and banging his fist everywhere. And then it jumps to a crowd of Germans in their trucks with them just honking their horns. And that's all it was. That's all it was. Yet apparently, according to YouTube, and I have right here, it says that I got flagged for it being hate speech. So I'm not sure if they're saying honk honk is hate speech or if they just didn't watch it. I tried to appeal it. They said, it's hate speech, video is down, and you can't stream or do anything for it was, I think, like 2 weeks, and then just, things happen, right? But I'm actually finally back streaming, and we'll probably try to do this every Thursday, hopefully around 9 o'clock. I know we're a little bit late starting tonight. I have a kid, so, sometimes things get turned around, but we're going to try to keep it around 9 o'clock most nights. But either way, let's jump to one of these first, real quick, of course, if you like to, subscribe to the YouTube channel. As you can tell on the side of, or this way, side of the screen, also on Rumble, Twitter, also on Twitch, just streaming some random gaming BS, so feel free to subscribe to any of those as well. But today we're going to be talking about a couple of different things. First off, we have the Don't Say Gay bill, and very much in quotation marks, the actual, parental rights and education bill has officially been signed by DeSantis, which is fantastic, right? For those of you who don't know, for one, I already have a full video doing a complete breakdown of this bill on the channel, so just, look at videos, you should be able to see it. It's just titled, I think, something along the lines of, full breakdown of Don't Say Gay bill, why everything you've been told is a lie. Because everything we've been told about it is a lie, right? You can say gay. There's no, let's just clear that up real quick. You can say gay. It doesn't mention the word gay anywhere in the damn bill. It's a total falsehood to even claim it as the Don't Say Gay bill. You might as well call it the Don't Say Straight bill or Don't Say Sex bill, because all it really says is, for the most part, you can't teach sex ed to kindergarteners or third graders. That's the big thing in the bill. So, I have a couple of my notes up here from the video I did on it. So just so all of you are everyone's on the same page here. The main things the bill did are basically three big things the bill did. One was the right to actually be informed about what's happening with your kid. Say your kid's having like a mental breakdown because he, is getting picked on so much, and he just, having a real difficult time going to the guidance counselor and having a hard time working this out. The school is supposed to inform you, saying, hey, listen, your kid's going through some tough shit right now. You might want to talk to them, might want to kind of help figure out what's going on. Same thing if your kid even gets hurt. Say he's on the playground and just sprains his ankle. The school can't try to hide that from the parents in fear of a lawsuit. They now have to make sure they inform the parents that, yes, your kid has, suffered this kind of physical injury while on the playground. It's illegal for them to hide that information from the parents. Now, you would think that would be illegal already, and it might be illegal in some sense, but this law just, it makes sure of it, right? It just is a extra precaution that way. So all it really is doing is saying, people have the right to be informed. And the left has been saying, hey, if you inform parents that their kid is gay, they might cause abuse, which is ridiculous on the sense of, even parents who are very anti-LGBT still love their kids. To assume they're going to abuse their children is just pretty messed up. But to play devil's advocate, let's say that's the case. The right to be informed does not extend in cases, and this is in the bill. In the bill it says, if there is a reasonable assumption that the kid might become abused or neglected because of releasing certain information, the school does not have to release it. Now, that still can lead the way of the school hiding a bunch of different things, to be perfectly honest. However, it does not, it's completely just sets it up so that no kid will be outed against their will to their parents. All right, so that will never happen with the bill. The second part of the bill simply said no sex ed in kindergarten through third grade. That should be simple, right? If you really want to talk to children, not even children at this point, if you want to talk to 5-year-olds about sex, you got something messed up. You need to be investigated, all right? This is for kindergarten and third grades. It just says you can't have any sex ed class. It's not just about saying gay or anything like that. You can actually still say gay. That's not outlawed in this bill whatsoever. If Billy comes to school and says, hey, both my dads went out to the movies the other night, and Jimmy says, well, what do you mean both your dads? Oh, my dad is gay. He's not going to get in trouble for saying that. All right, that doesn't happen. Teachers can still talk about it in one-on-one conversations. It just there can't be a curriculum. It can't be a part of the curriculum. They can't be talking about sex as part of a curriculum. This is where I say the bill actually doesn't go far enough, because as far as I'm concerned, the teacher's role in that regard, if a student says, well, what's being gay? That's an excellent question, Jimmy. You should go talk to your mom and dad about that one. The teacher should not be explaining stuff like that to children, all right? They should be teaching math. They should be teaching reading. They should be teaching, English. That's what they should be teaching. And the last thing the bill does, it basically holds schools accountable by allowing there to be a system in place so if parents feel that their rights as parents have been violated, say the school is hiding something, say again in the case where a school, say, kid breaks his ankle on the school and they try to hide it, and say, don't tell your parents, or, they try to avoid lawsuits. This gives the parent an avenue to actually, hold the school accountable for those actions. So there is now a better method in place at least, for parents to actually go through a process to make sure that the schools are held to this standard. And that's about it. So the bill does almost nothing. But, DeSantis has signed the Parental Rights and Education bill, and the left has freaked out about it. Hollywood, of course, what do we know about Hollywood? Well, they kind of like talking about sex with little kids as well as doing other things with little kids. And so, of course, they're freaking out over it because, they want to start introducing sex to kids as soon as possible. But, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law Monday a parental rights bill that bans teachers from giving classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through third grade. Now, I like the fact that actually, for once, Fox News does a decent job and says classroom instructions rather than just saying talking about. Because again, the bill does not ban the talking portion at all. You can still talk about being gay. You can still have these conversations with your students on a one-on-one basis. It just can't be part of the curriculum. Now, again, I don't think that should be allowed. The bill is a very milquetoast bill overall. But it just doesn't, it really doesn't do that much. It just really doesn't. But he said, in Florida, we not only know that parents have the right to be involved, we insist that parents have the right to be involved, DeSantis said. Because, let's face it, most parents aren't. So, Florida signed this bill, and what has the left done? Well, they freaked the hell out. I mean, TikTok especially. Thank God for libs of TikTok, by the way. They've done a great job with a lot of stuff that they do. So, you have multiple, let's see, there's this person right here, and I'll let play.
Safe place for kids. I just want to go ahead and state that I would rather lose my job than out one of my students to their families. Being a safe person and a safe place for kids that don't have that at home is one of the best parts of being a teacher. So yeah, I'm not doing it. I don't know. Fire me, sue me, take me to jail. I'm not doing it.
So not doing it, not going to out their kids. Good part is, again, that's not in the bill. But it's an elementary school teacher. This is a teacher. This is the person who's going to be responsible for teaching our children, and they, of course, have not educated themselves at all on what this bill actually does. So let's just type in, don't say gay, and see what Twitter is really saying about it right now. All right. So you have a couple people pointing out the fact, of course, that don't say gay bill is completely not true. If you haven't seen Stone Toss Comics, it's kind of blanking out here a little bit. That's gay. He's in the principal's office right after. Good comics. Let's see. Yeah, right here. So, thinking about kids with gay parents in Florida. Great parents, great families. They can no longer talk about their parents in school. Do they need to keep their family life secret? Can two dads attend a parents' night? Yes, yes, all of that. That they are allowed to talk about their parents. They're allowed to talk as much as they want about their family. Their dads can go to parents' night. It doesn't matter. The lawsuit against blatantly unconstitutional "Don't Say Gay" law will secede. Yeah, the people part of it have done great public service, sneaking on sneaky Governor DeSantis and a reactionary Florida legislator. Read the dynamite complaint here. Again, unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. Why is it unconstitutional? Because you don't want to teach sex ed to kids. Don't say John Cooper. Yeah, okay. What is he? Former national financial chair of draft Biden 2016, Long Island campaign chair for Barack Obama. Okay, so a pretty big guy. Don't say gay bill, or don't say gay is trending again. Now's a great time to say gay, 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 gay. So the media is constantly pushing this, and of course now you have walkouts happening in Florida over it, which, I mean, that just looks like a mosh pit to me. And to be honest, if I was in school, I'm pretty sure I would participate too, because, like, it gets you out of school. Actually, to be honest, I probably would just go home. Like, just go home and shoot basketball while they went crazy. But these people have been lied to. These people have honestly been lied to about what the bill has to say. Nowhere in the bill does it say you can't say gay. Nowhere in the bill does it limit people from being gay or talking about being gay or having any of these conversations. People can be as gay as they want. I really don't give a damn. I'm somewhat of a libertarian myself. Like, all I really care about for the most part is individual liberty and freedom. All right, you're allowed to say gay, you're allowed to be gay, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. Just don't involve me in any of the stuff, and I really won't care. Right? Hell, I'll even bake the damn cake. I really don't even mind that. But don't force someone else to bake the damn cake, right? I prioritize individual liberty more so than anything else. However, they say, well, why aren't you allowing, these schools to start talking about stuff? It's because this is the government. Schools are run by the government. This isn't, even private schools, this would be very iffy if it was happening, but I would say private schools actually probably do have the right to teach whatever curriculum they want to teach because they are a private school. And you can take your kids out of those schools if you don't like them. But what happens if you take a kid out of public schools? Well, let's face it, the state, a lot of different states have a lot of burdens when it comes to homeschooling. They really burden the parents like crazy. If your kid doesn't go to school, the government comes after you. You have to send your kid to school for the most part. So a private school can do what they want for the overall, right? Private school, I disagree with it. I just won't send my kid there. Public school, there is, in a lot of places, not really other options, which means, yes, we get a say in it. We totally get a say in what happens in public schools because they're government run and the government answers to the people, right? If it's a private school, they answer to whoever owns the school. When it's a government-run school, they answer to the people. They answer to the parents. They answer to the people who are paying their bills, who are paying their salaries. And who's paying their salaries? Oh, that's right. It's us. It's us who pay their salaries. That's why we get a say in this stuff, right? That's why we get a say in what the public school is doing. And again, the fact that these people want to talk about sex to kindergartners so much is insane. And some of them are saying it doesn't happen. Some of them are saying that no one talks about sex with kindergartners. Well, we got here from Libs of TikTok. Grace Moore, NKC. Not sure exactly where that's at, but their school, third graders, they're talking about, what is identity, language, family. Okay, well, that makes sense. Race, probably should be talking about religion, sure. Gender. And so it says, we're talking about, or tapping into their, I don't know what that actually means, their schema, before we delve into each and explore our own identities. Students are continuing the study of gender by discussing their, I don't know what that word is, I'll be honest. I don't know what the word is. I need to look up some more information. Adding to each other's thinking and determining which identity parts are visible and invisible. I wonder if anyone would change their minds. So yes, this is being taught to third graders. This is being taught to elementary school kids. Again, why are they telling kids anything about sex is beyond me. I have no idea. I don't get why they're so insistent on it, but they are. Now, of course, you have other cases. Middle school teacher reportedly sent nudes to students. He was escorted out of the school by police yesterday, according to an email from the principal. Why stories like this keep happening? They do keep happening. And these are the people who are so insistent on wanting to teach your children. And so, here's a video this guy made.
Oh, can I show you what I'm proudest of?
Normalizing using pronouns, introducing my classes, and it's just a bunch of stuff about him, of course, introducing this garbage to children, right? And apparently he's also really big when it comes to he's also big when it comes to the critical race theory stuff as well. See here, forget racism, anti-racism, and you total absolute nonsense. Working on sessions of equity. Listen, anytime they say equity, run. Just run. I mean, now one thing, obviously, look at this guy. He screams predator in the first place. But, I mean, my God. Say black teachers matter? Oh my God. Black teachers matter. So he's obviously wearing that to school too. So he's definitely he's definitely trying to push a message. And of course, what is he? Far leftist, and of course, trying to get with children. Very common. So NPR, though, put out an article, teachers fear chilling effects of Florida's Don't Say Gay law. Again, why do they care so much that they can't talk about sex with children? Hard to say, but let's look at a little bit of this. It's a bill that's drawn nationwide controversy, dubbed by opponents as the Don't Say Gay bill. Well, at least, they are saying it's dubbed by opponents as the Don't Say Gay bill. But they should just have, a big old fact check there saying, not true, you can say gay. President Biden called it hateful. Of course, President Biden, is against us not teaching or not talking about sex with children. I mean, you've seen how he is when it comes to, you see how he is when it comes to little children. It was ridiculed by the host of this year's Academy Awards because we care so much about them. On Monday, it became Florida's law when Governor DeSantis signed the Parental Rights and Education bill. Now, Florida teachers are wondering how the new law will affect them and their students. So over here, we will make sure that parents can send their kids to school to get an education, not indoctrinations, DeSantis said during the bill signing in Spring Hill, Florida. Flanked by young children at Classical Presbyterian School, which is a charter school, will not be affected by the law. Well, no duh. It's a private school. Now, I don't know exactly why he did it there in particular, but oh well. I mean, it's a school. It's a school that apparently does well. Opponents of the law, DeSantis said, support sexualizing kids in kindergarten. They support injecting woke gender ideology into second grade classrooms. Yes, they do. We've already seen that they do. Teachers say students have other concerns. So, teacher right here. Her first graders aren't focused on sexual orientation, gender or identity. Their main concern, she says, is it snack time? Well, yes, that should be what their concern is. After all, Stefan says, teaching about sexual orientation, gender identity isn't part of the first grade curriculum, but talking about families is part of her curriculum. And some of her students may have two moms or two dads. It makes you wonder, she said, when I'm talking about families in my classroom, am I going to be violating this law because the children are having discussion about what their family looks like? No, you're not. The bill does not say there's a problem with that whatsoever. Nowhere in the bill. You can read the bill. It's only 7 pages. It's only 7 pages. There's no reason for it to be that complicated. There is nowhere in the bill that says you can't talk about that stuff. It just says it can't be part of the curriculum as a basis of it. So if they want to talk amongst themselves about what their family looks like and all that stuff, if a kid has a question about it, either the other kid can help answer, or you can say, that's a good question. You should talk to your parents about it. It's not very complicated of a response. What's next, she said. If they're going after this conversation now, where does it stop? Where does it stop? It stops when it's saying don't talk sex with children. That's it. I'm very fearful this law is just going to open it up for a lot more things and start being discriminated against. What are they worried next? We're going to end critical race theory for them? I mean, I wish. Some teachers label the law as a blatant attack on education. Education, because obviously this should be part of education. All right, so beyond kindergarten and third grade, the Florida law also says any instruction about sexual orientation or gender ideology at any grade has to be age appropriate or developmentally appropriate and according with state standards. Opponents say the law will effectively muzzle any discussion on sexual orientation or gender ideology out of fear. Under the law, parents can sue the school district if they believe the school is in violation. Honestly, I feel like it's just a blatant attack on education, says Georgie Botello, who has taught 8th grade American history for 19 years at Ocilla Middle School in rural, I'm not going to say that word, Florida, rural Florida. A lot of these bills are written by people who have never set foot in a public education classroom. Good. Let me say it again. Good. Because our public education system sucks. We do a terrible job. Kids are leaving school with no financial literacy, without any historical literacy, without any education on how to actually go out into the world and succeed. All right, they're not taught anything in this regard. They can't even change a damn tire. All right, public schools do a terrible job at educating children. For the most part, I learned more my first year in the workforce than I did in almost all my time in school. You know why? Because school didn't teach a damn thing. They really didn't. Sure, you say math, I learned math. Not really. I learned math from my parents, not really so much from the school. All right, when I had to learn long division and stuff like that, I went to my dad and to my mom and said, all right, I don't get this, please help me. It wasn't in school I learned most of this crap. It was at home with my parents, because fortunately I had good parents. Because the public school system, again, does not help children. It stifles their creativity. It tells them to fit inside a box. It says, yes, you will know this one particular fact about history, but you won't understand what that fact actually means, right? You'll say, well, what does the Constitution do? Well, it protects our rights. Okay, well, that's great. It protects our rights. How and why? And what does it mean when we say rights in the first place? Kids do not have any clue. Because we're not teaching them actual history. We're teaching them how to check A, B, C, or D on a test. We aren't teaching them how to critically think. We aren't teaching them any of this stuff. So when they say, oh, well, you never set foot in a public education classroom. Yeah, that's a positive. Because people in the real world learn or know how to actually teach people. All right? People who actually, have to train others for part of a job have more education experience and credentials, in my opinion, than public school teachers who have been doing their job for years. And, I know there's a couple good teachers out there. I get it. But for the most part, public school system has utterly failed the children of this country. So good. They should not be part of the public school system. That's like asking a cop to fix the cops for the most part, right? Of course, it's... I checked myself out for corruption and found out there was none. Don't have people who are already part of the problem be part of the solution. All right, bring in new people. Under the new law, he wonders, will it be considered age appropriate to tell his kids that the Revolutionary War hero, the Prussian General Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben, is widely believed to have been openly gay? Okay, what relevancy does that have to the conversation on history? What relevancy does it have? If in a letter, maybe if you're reading his letters and he talks about his husband, and you go, yeah, it turns out he was gay. I mean, sure, I guess. That's not really having a full conversation about it. But if you're saying, today we're not going to learn about John Adams. We're not going to learn about John Locke. We're not going to learn about any of Aristotle. We're not going to learn, I guess it was U.S. History, or was it just history in general? Let's see. I don't really see where exactly he says. But if he's a history teacher in general history, he should be learning Aristotle, Socrates, all this stuff. We're not going to learn about that. We're not going to learn about George Washington. We're not going to learn about John Adams. We're not going to learn about Thomas Jefferson. Instead, we're going to talk about this one Prussian general and about how he was widely believed to have been openly gay. That's really the important conversation here when it comes to history. Listen, if it comes up, right? Like, no one really... I don't care. At 8th grade, yeah, I think you can say, yeah, so, yeah, you can tell here that apparently, he was actually gay. Really? Yeah. Now on to the next bit. Talk about what he did, not the fact he's gay, because really that doesn't pertain to history at all. It doesn't matter. When you look at history, when you look back in history, Patella says, there's clear examples of how these different groups that are being attacked today actually helped form our country. They are part of our story. Yeah, listen, if only like 2% of the population is gay, then sure, at times they have helped and, they should be taught about, but not be taught about because they're gay. They should be taught about because they did something substantial. You talk about what they did. You talk about what they did. And if you want to throw in a little bit of details here and there, by all means, I really don't care, but talk about what they did first. It's like the old difference of what's propaganda versus what's art. Well, when you do art for the sake of art and it contains a message, then that's art. When you have the message first before knowing what you're going to create, well, then that's more so propaganda. In this case, it's similar. When you're teaching history, when you're teaching about the events and happen to mention the fact that, hey, this person also turned out to be gay, then sure, you could say this is teaching history. When you sit there and say, now on to a great gay person in history, no, now you're pushing an ideology, not history. Right? You see kind of the difference here? So, if he's teaching history and it comes up, by all means, no one really cares. But for the most part, guess what? With them making up 2% of the population, they really didn't actually have that big of an impact. I hate to say it. I don't really hate to say it that much, but I really just... It's not very common. If it comes up, it comes up. It's as simple as that. Patel believes lessons like these can empower LGBTQ students, weaving them into America's history. Why is them being gay the biggest factor in their life? Why? Why is being gay the biggest factor in their life? How is that weaving them into Americans' history? How about the fact there are descendants? They are the descendants of people who came to this country searching for freedom. How is that not weaving them into America's history? Who cares if you're gay? That doesn't matter. As a Mexican American, he says he knows how important this kind of representation is. Growing up, he didn't see himself in history books. So you looked at race. You care that much about your race. Listen, if I moved over to Japan, I'm not expecting to see a bunch of white people in their history books. Right? I'm not. And guess what? America is a country founded by Europeans. And up till recently, the country was about like 90% white. It's been a recent change on demographics. And I'm not going to come here and say it's a bad thing or a good thing. I don't think it really matters that much. I say all that really matters is the values for which people are espousing. Listen, if you're coming from Mexico and you believe that, hey, we should focus on individual liberties and freedoms, then I'll shake your hand and call you a fellow American like that. If you come from France and say, no, we need to be more like communists, then I'm going to say, get the out. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what you look like. I care about what you believe. This person apparently clearly cares more about what people look like more than what they believe. I know that I have to think a little harder when I navigate these subjects next year, and that this bill is going to be in effect, he says. Again, the bill doesn't even affect really 8th grade for the most part, so I don't know why he's that concerned. If a client becomes too restricted, Patel says he might have to consider retiring. Oh, that would be so terrible. So terrible. We'll lose a great teacher who just wants to talk about all the gay people in history. Like it actually matters. If I feel like I'm going to be watched by Big Brother all the time, he says, like, what's the point? You work for the government. You're a government employee. Listen, I hate Big Brother. I hate Big Brother. I hate people looking over your shoulder. All right, I'm the kind of person who says, come back with a warrant. I don't give a damn. All right, I don't want you in my house. I'm not doing anything illegal here. I still don't want you fucking here. I don't want you searching my car. I don't want you searching me. Not because I have anything to hide, because I really don't. I really am a very simple, kind of laid-back kind of person. I really don't do anything that's really considered, I think, really that bad. I know I don't really do anything really illegal as far as I know, so I really have nothing to really hide, but I don't like people searching through my shit regardless. But you work for the government. Sorry, they're going to look at what you're doing. All right, when I'm in an office, my boss is going to look at what I'm doing. If I'm making phone calls to clients, my boss is going to occasionally check on those phone calls to make sure I'm not being a total fuck up, right? It's not Big Brother at that point. It's just you being monitored as part of your job. That's just how your job works. So then we have this teacher here who I think is actually a gay man himself. Yep, as a gay man, he says, it tells him that his LGBTQ students, that there's something inappropriate about them. No, because their identity is taboo or somehow dirty. Listen, as a straight guy, I think it's a little gross, but I really don't care. I mean, it's no more gross than a straight guy with a foot fetish, in my opinion, I guess. Like, it's all kind of weird to me. But that's not all in the bill. Straight people can't talk about sex with these children. Straight people can't. Make that a big point. Straight people can't talk about them. Kraken points to a 2021 survey that from the Trevor Project, a nonprofit suicide prevention organization for LGBTQ youths, which found 42% of LGBTQ youths seriously consider attempting suicide in the past year. Well, when you got the T's mixed in there, that's going to up that percent. It's terrible. It's awful. It really is. No one should ever, 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 ever be attempting to do that, right? That is an awful, 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 terrible, terrible thing, but it's worth recognizing that people who are in the T's have almost a 50% rate of it, of actually doing it, which means probably a higher percentage of that think about it. So you have, of course, the normal rates probably among the LGB portion of it, and you have the T's really skewing that number pretty high, right? Because if about 50% of them actually do it, how many of them are actually just thinking about it, right? So, I mean, that's probably where you're getting the majority of that number from, to be perfectly honest. I can tell you, as someone who grew up as a gay boy, I don't know why that's funny. I don't know why I found that funny. Oh, God. I'm a 28-year-old man laughing at him calling himself a gay boy. How real that statistic is, he says, and how dangerous it is that these Republican legislators are playing with the safety of our vulnerable youths. They're not. It's not in the bill. Read the bill. You're a teacher, and you won't read 7 pages. You won't read 7 pages. It's amazing. Kraken said teachers will... that's a cool name, at least McCracken. Says teachers... I just realized he's gay and his name is McCracken. That's kind of funny. The teachers he's talked to will say the new law won't silence them. They're going to teach just like they were teaching, and they're going to provide a safe space in their classrooms like they've always been. Nothing in the law prevents them from doing so. For the most part, as long as they aren't talking sex to these children as part of a curriculum, there's really no big deal. I mean, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. But there's no violation of the law. That's the big thing. Some good old coffee there. I just wanted to bring this all up because, I mean, these people are fucking out of their mind, right? They are absolute lunatics. They're absolute lunatics. These are the people who teach your children, right? These are the people who educate the future of this country. These are the people who sit down and have more time with your children than you do through most days. And really think about that. For the most part, more children spend time with their teacher than they do their own parents these days. And these are the people they're spending the most time with. Really think about that. That's why it's so important to make sure these people are not grooming kids by making them used to having conversations about sex as early as kindergarten. That cannot be allowed. Cannot be allowed. But I think that's all we can say about that. We're going to jump over to one thing that I think is one of the worst. If it actually gets passed, it will be literally... It will literally be the worst thing the Biden administration has done. If this actually gets passed, it'll be the worst thing the Biden administration has actually done. So we're going to pull this up real quick.
Right now, billionaires pay an average rate of 8% on their total income. 8%. Right now, billionaires pay an average rate of 8% on their total income. 8%, that's the average they pay. Now, I'm a capitalist. But if you can make $1 billion, great. Just pay your fair share. Pay a little bit. A firefighter and a teacher pay more than double the tax rate that a billionaire pays. That's not right. That's not fair. And my budget contains a billionaire minimum tax because of that. A 20% minimum tax that applies only to the top 1/100% 0.01% of the Americans will pay this tax. The billionaire minimum tax is fair, and it raises $360 billion that can be used to lower costs for families and cut the deficit. As I said, my budget also ensures the corporations pay their fair share. In 2020, right now,
Okay. So, first off, that is total nonsense. Billionaires, in fact, the top 1%, pay about 40% of all taxes that go into this country. They are paying their damn fair share. I always like to ask this of a lot of people on the left. What is their fair share? What is their fair share? If you had to take, how much of the taxes should 1% of the population be paying? How much should they really be paying? And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up real quick. Let's see, 1%. How much in taxes? Let's see. So the top 1% pay over, about 40% of all taxes that go into the country. Almost 40%. Now, when you talk about the 10% of the country pays almost 90% of all taxes. That is what we're looking at here. That is how big of a difference this is. So, first off, the rich pay their fair share already. And I'm just going to also go on a little side note here. The fact that we treat people differently under the law based on what income you are in the first place, I think is outrageous. All right, I'm for a flat tax. I'm for a fair tax. I think everyone should be paying the same exact flat tax rate amongst all things. Either only have a sales tax or have a universal income tax of 10%. Not because I think that the progressive tax system is ineffective. I just think it is completely immoral to actually say, you know what? Because of your income, we're going to treat you differently under the law. We're going to treat you differently under the law because of how much money you make. I don't think that's immoral. I don't think that's right. It opens the doors to just too many other insane things when you start saying we're going to sit there and change the laws based on how much money you have. So I'm for a flat tax, I'm for a fair tax. However, when we're looking at the progressive tax system as we currently have it, the rich pay 40%. 1% pays 40% of all tax in this country. So when you're with a liberal, when you're with a Democrat, when you're with your friend who says, oh, the rich need to pay their fair share. How much is their fair share? Ask them what's the exact percent? 1% of the country should be paying into the total system here. I asked my friend that, and I was like, how much should they pay? Should they pay 10%, 15%, 20%? He goes, yeah, probably around 25%. Well, good news, everybody. The 1% pays 40%. It pays even more. It pays almost double of what this person thought their fair share should be. They did not believe me. They said, no, that's insane. That's not true at all. That's not true at all. They pay less than everyone else does. They pay less. No, they don't. They don't pay less. They pay their fair share. They pay 40% of all of our taxes into this country. Top 1%. Now, then the question is, well, how do they get away with paying so little in taxes each year? And there's two issues to this. One, because they follow the damn tax code. They either give the charity enough, or they have, they reinvest their money back into their businesses. There's tons of different things you can do with your money to make it so you don't have to really pay taxes on it because you've put it somewhere else that the government has approved. That's not you finding a loophole. That is you just filing your damn taxes. All right, when I filed, listen, we have a kid, right? We have a 1-year-old at this point. And so this year when we filed our taxes, of course, we claimed our kid. Me claiming my kid to get more money in my tax return is not a loophole. It is literally just me filing my taxes. When these rich people pay a certain amount in taxes, whether it be, like 8%, whatever Biden might be quoting there, it's not, they're finding loopholes. They're not doing anything illegal. They're just following the tax code. And it's easier for these idiots to sit there and say, we need to raise their taxes, than it is for them to simply say, why don't we just relook at the tax code and see exactly how it's being done and just change certain portions of it. Think about that. Why don't they just change the portion of the tax code that allows people to pay less in taxes. I don't think they should, mind you. I think actually the current way it's set up is, I mean, it's abysmal, but it's better than the alternative at the moment, right? You know, the fact that I can sit there and register, you know, our charity givings as a tax, as a deduction, that's a positive thing, because I'm still choosing how that money is used in my community rather than the government choosing to do so. I think that's actually a better alternative for the most part. But if you're really concerned about this, change the damn tax code. Don't increase the damn taxes. As simple as that. But what he's trying to get at, what he wants to do, and this is where it gets almost frightening, is he wants to go after the richest, I think it's like 700 Americans, and say, we're going to tax you on your unrealized gains in the stock market. So here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. When they say Elon Musk is worth trillions of dollars he's worth, or Bezos or any of them, they're worth that much, but they don't have that much, right? It's in stocks. It's in other assets for the most part. They don't actually have the money. They never made $1 trillion, right? They never made the billions of dollars. I think Elon Musk gets like $80,000 a year is how much he actually gets paid. So he pays taxes on the $80,000 a year. His company pays taxes up the ass, right? I mean, look at everything they do when it comes to property tax for those buildings, when it comes to everything else they have to register, when it comes to their employees. They're paying taxes like crazy. Every single time they buy equipment for their, Teslas and rocket ships and all the crazy shit they're doing, they're paying taxes on those things. You don't get to see the sales tax, do you? But guess what? When a company buys equipment, they don't get it for free. They have to pay sales tax. So they're paying a shit ton of taxes as is. We already have the highest capital gains tax, or some of the highest corporate tax rates in the entire world, right? And we're in it's around 30% for corporate tax rates, mind you. In places like like the Nordic countries that Bernie Sanders likes to mention so much, they're below 10% in some cases. We're some of the highest corporate tax rates in the world, so they're already paying higher than most places. And yet they still choose to do business in America, mostly because of the benefits it allows them. They're already paying their fair share, but what they're trying to tax now is the unrealized gains. And to make it simple, let's say you invest into AMC, right? The good meme stock. So last week or so, it was worth about $15. So you put $1,500 into it, right? You're buying a good amount of stocks, right? You're just $1,500, $15 a share. You got 100 shares. Congratulations. You're invested in a great old meme stock. Love the stocks. This week, it hit $30. Actually went past 30 by a small amount. Now, when does the government calculate the money you've made apparently in your portfolio? Because then for a moment, you now have $3,000 sitting in that stock. So the government will count it up and say, all right, you made $1,500. You didn't sell anything, but the government will say you made $1,500. You got to pay taxes on that. So you go through your tax process, and it's a few days later, and the stock has dropped down to $20 a share. $20 a share. Yet according to the government, you made $1,500. Now you didn't, though. Now it's gone back down. How do you pay taxes on that amount? It's kind of like, excuse me, it's kind of like you're playing poker, right? Me and you are playing poker against one another. We have $1,000 on the table. And then before we actually show each other our hands, the tax man comes up and says, hey, look, you made $1,000. Congratulations. You got to pay taxes on that. Well, I haven't made it yet. All right, we haven't seen who won. I could lose my $1,000. You have no idea. Yet they're coming up and saying, well, you could have $2,000. That could be your estimated profit, because I think, it looks like you're going to be able to make out pretty well here. The hand hasn't been completed. I don't know what I've made. That is what they want to tax. That is what they're now trying to tax. They're trying to tax unrealized gains for the richest, like you said, like top 0.001% of the country. Well, guess what? Income tax started off at the higher level too, and then it proceeded to go down to everyone else. Listen, if they try to tax that wealth, I mean, for one, it will destroy the companies. All right, you're going to have people like Elon Musk having to, frankly, sell off all the shares to his company to just pay the damn taxes on it, until the point where he's no longer the owner of his own company. He built it. He established it. He should remain owner for as long as he wants. But the government's trying to find a way to take ownership away from them. This is a way of this is a way to kind of reach a system of socialism in kind of a very sly way. You make them sell off their shares so they are no longer the owners of their own company. Right? It's a very, very sneaky way of doing it. But here's the thing. Who's to say they're going to stay in America? Who's to say they're actually going to stay in the country in the first place? More than likely they're not. More than likely they're going to leave. More than likely they're going to run off to another country that will actually allow them to keep the money that they have earned. Because, at the end of the day, you should keep the sweat of your own brow. And, I misspoke there, actually. I said keep the money they have earned. They haven't earned it yet. I mean, this is how insane this is. They haven't earned it yet. This is someone who is... The Biden administration, these Democrats, have never read a damn economic book in their life. It is insane. All you gotta do is pick up a book. Just pick up any economic book and you'll realize how insane this is. Just, let's see. Richest Man in Babylon. A very simple book. Parables on economics. You'll learn so much from it. I read it when I was like in middle school, maybe a freshman in high school. Very, very easy book. You would realize how stupid this is if you read just this one book. But let's go more. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book, beginner on when it comes to investments. His other book, Cash Flow Quadrant, very easy read. I read them both in high school. Fantastic books. Read it and you'll understand why this makes no sense. Goes into a lot of detail about the stuff like real estate and, of course, assets, which is important. What about let's get political here. Free to Choose, Milton and Rose Freeman. If you read this one book, you'll understand again why the economic system that the left keeps trying to push is total and utter BS. Why don't we go more with it, huh? What about The Ultimate Day Trader? It's kind of a so-so book overall, I'll be perfectly honest, but it's not that hard to read and explains the stock market decently well. How about this? Let's go really simple. Not even really simple. Let's go very, very basic. This is something that the government definitely needs to read. Dave Ramsey. All right, let's fix our debt issue, right? I mean, this is the whole point of his system is to get you out of debt. God damn, the government needs to learn this shit. It's one book. If they read just one economic book on the left, they would understand why this plan is complete and utter disastrous for this country. It is absolute insanity that they would ever think this makes any sense. And Lord knows, I got more books up here I could keep pulling off the shelf and keep saying different things. I mean, what about, Secrets of Closing the Sale? That's a great one on economics. What about some John Maxwell books? It goes over a lot of things pretty well. Good Profit. I got some more back there as well, right? I read a lot of books on economics as well as politics, as well as just some fun books from here and there. But you read one damn book and you would understand why this is complete and utter nonsense. But that is what the Biden administration... This bill, if I swear to Christ, if they sit there and pass a tax on unrealized gains, it will sink this country. It will utterly sink this country. It will destroy everything that has been built up to this point. You cannot tax people on money they haven't even earned. God damn. Well, that was a good rant. I'm glad I freaked out a bit too much on it. I just started seeing books up there and just start thinking, oh well, now I'll wait to put the rest of these books up. Ah, damn. It takes just one book. These aren't hard books. Again, listen, Free to Choose by Milton and Rose Freeman, one of the greatest books on politics as well as it goes into economics. Great. It even goes into a lot of detail about education, which is something that we were just talking about before. Pick it up. It's a great book. Again, if you're looking at economics, Richest Man in Babylon, it's just parables about how to be financially savvy, and it's a great book. It's a great book. All it takes is one of these books, and the left would be broken. One of these books, and the left would be broken. But the left doesn't read. The problem with the education system currently, once people leave school, they stop their education. And it shows on the left, especially more than any other side. I'll tell you that right now. Let's finish up with something a bit easier going, shall we? State of relationships, marriages, and living alone in the United States. So apparently, according to the Census Bureau, we are in a downturn when it comes to married couples. Big downturn. So you see here in 1940, over 70, almost 80% of households were married. Right? Almost 80%. Good number. See the 50s come, see 60s get here. This is like 62, still at 73. And what happens is 70 seems to hit, and that's when, of course, what? Oh, that's right. Modern leftism really started popping its ugly head, right? The communists started popping up in the colleges, and this attack on the nuclear family really started to begin. And it just goes down. It goes down, it goes down, it goes down, all the way till now, where we're at less than half of households in this country are married couples. Now, here's the thing. Some people say, what does this really matter? People live together now longer. Me and my wife, we lived together before we were married. It is what it is. It's 2 years before we actually got married. I think we got engaged after about like 1 year, and then the second year is when we actually got married. And so I get it, people do wait a bit longer. But we're looking at under 50% rates of marriage. And it's funny, when you look at things about how to be financially set, one of the number one things you can do is get married and have a family. And that's really counterintuitive, right? Have kids, well, that's going to cost you so much more money. Listen, I can say as someone who's had a kid, I've become more responsible and more financially savvy now that I have a kid than I was before. Same thing goes with my wife, right? We've gotten better financially since we've had a kid. We've been better financially since we got actually married, because it almost forces you to be responsible in a way, right? And once you really start realizing what's really important in life, and once you start realizing that, your spouse and your kids, they're the real things when it comes to, what is the meaning of life, they mean so much more than any of those other bullshit that you were doing before. Right? Did I enjoy doing a lot of things I did when I was single? Hell yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Do they even remotely compare to the happiness I have now that I'm married and have a kid? Not even remotely. They're not even on the same planet at this point, right? They are so far apart. They are so far apart. But it's counterintuitive to say, get married, have kids, and you will be more financially stable. But it's the truth. For one, obviously, typically you're kind of combining your income and you're more set together, and you can actually help make decisions. Two minds thinking towards one purpose is probably going to get you a better outcome in most situations. You have someone you can bounce ideas off of. When you have a kid, you're forced to start really looking at, what do I really need? What do I not need? And you start building up your wealth from there. So marriage is very important. Marriage is extremely important. When it comes to raising kids, we know the biggest thing to keep kids out of jail is to have a two-parent household. So again, marriage is extraordinarily important. And we're about to look at some statistics here on marriage that really explain a lot when it comes to different segments of the population encountering different problems. So, right over here, both men and women are marrying later in life. Based on census data compiled since 1890, the median age of first marriages were at their youngest in 1956, just over 22 for men and 20 for women. That's probably a good age for most people to get married, to be honest. It really is. I got married when I was 26, so I got married a little late. But yeah, I think 22 for men, 20 for women, that's a good number. And you see, of course, men being older than women, very common. In 2019, those figures were at their oldest for over 30 for men and over 28 for women. Over 30 for men. I know there's some 30-year-olds out there right now are probably thinking, well, yeah, I don't want to get married yet. Listen, grow the fuck up. All right, get married. Now, if you're having a hard time finding a woman, I understand that. And same thing if you're a woman having a hard time finding a man. Listen, I get it. That means you probably need to work on yourself and actually improving in some way. Because guess what? If my wife met me just like a year earlier than she did, there's no way we would have ever gone out, because I was a totally different person at that point and had yet to even begin to get my life together. Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Go ahead out there and get married, all right? Go to a church. Find someone who has, even if you're not even religious, man, just go to it. If you're not religious, there's no harm, right? Find a religious person, because they want to get married typically, all right? Go out there, find someone who wants to get married. 30 years old. I mean, if you have a kid, man, really think about that. If you get married at 30 and then have a kid when you're 32, when your kid turns 21, you're going to be in your 50s. In your 50s, man. Don't you want to do stuff with your kid? Me and my dad, for his 50th birthday, we went and hiked the Grand Canyon. Right? Now, we did some crazy stuff. And it's been fun. It's been fun that when I hit 21, going to Vegas with him and stuff like that, right? Like, I've been able to do so much with my dad because he was really young when he had me. Same thing, of course, with my mom. They were both pretty young when they had me. They were in their early 20s. And it meant that, as I got older, they were able to do so many different things. They were able to go hiking, go fishing, go hunting, do all these stuff because, they still had that energy. They were still very young, and they're still pretty young. And it's allowed us to do so much. If you wait this long to get married, listen, for one, if you're a woman, you're going to have a hard time having kids. Let's be real, all right? When you're 30, most of your eggs are all used up. I'm telling you, you want to have kids. For men, guys, even if you say I can have kids at any age, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because you're going to want to be able to keep up with your children. All right, you're going to want to have fun with them. You want to play ball with them and stuff like that. All right, you're going to want to do a lot of that kind of stuff. You got to get married young. You got to have kids young. So we see here Americans getting married later in life for their first marriage, and you see again the charts right here. Now here's where it gets interesting. How do marriage rates compare by gender, race, and ethnicity? Marriage rates have declined across races and ethnicities, but the trend is more pronounced in some. Marriage rates for white, black, Hispanic Americans have fallen 7, 8, and 11 percentage points respectively since 1990, while the Asian Americans have remained around 61. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, for one, it's interesting the fact we didn't even register Hispanics or Asians until like the 1990s. That's kind of funny to me. But you see here, around the 50s and 60s, they were off, but they're around still somewhat the same, right? Like all men, again, 70%. White men over 70. And you see it continue. And what's interesting here is, before we looked at the chart in the 70s where we had that loud, huge jump down, just shot down. That's not really the case for white men here. It's actually more of a case for the black community, which what started happening around the 80s and 90s. What happened during all this time? The war on poverty. The war on poverty, which we know has done nothing but destroy the black community. And we've done more stuff too. Let's face it. We've screwed over the black community in a lot of ways. Listen, the government has the government is to blame for a lot of the problems happening in the black community. When they have sat there and done things, of course, like the war on drugs, which have been an utter failure, right? The way they handle crime, let's face it, has been an utter failure. The way that they've encouraged people not to get married and encouraged them to let the government be, basically be their baby daddy, that affects them tremendously. That's going to affect them tremendously. So I know some people go, well, what happened here? What happened? What happened was the government tried to help the black community, and in doing so, practically destroyed them, right? They pushed them away from traditional values, which we know work. And the best way you see it is with the Asian population here, right? So you see it kind of jumps around a lot. And I wonder if that just has to do with the way census data is gathered for such a small group in America. But right now, they're at the highest at 61% in the country for 2020 or 2021. Who is the most successful people in the country? It isn't white people. Even though we're the majority, it's not us white people. It's Asians. They have the highest grades on average when it comes to schools. They have some of the highest income levels for families. And a big part of this is because they still have very traditional families, very traditional values. Work hard, get married at a pretty young age typically as well. And with these traditional values, and the nuclear family does a lot of benefit. And you see it here with the Asian community, which has the highest marriage rate and has the best, statistically, are doing the best in the country. White men are right below here, which again, when you look at statistics for who's usually, prospering the most in this country, that's kind of in order. Now, this kind of surprised me. Hispanic men, y'all are Catholics, aren't? Don't a lot of you are just like a bunch of Catholics over there in South America? That's what I always was told. Central and South America is filled with Catholics. Aren't y'all told to get married and have tons and tons and tons of kids? And to be honest, my personal experience with most Hispanic families is that they're extremely family oriented. It's one of the things I usually love about my friends who are Hispanic is that they are very, very, very heavily family oriented. So I'll be honest, that number really surprises me, seeing it that low. But again, when you look at income brackets and things like that, it falls in line. And then you have the black community down here, 36.8%. And a big part of it is not, a lot of people want to try to just put all the blame on the black community. And let's face it, there is some blame for the individuals, obviously. They live in areas where the politicians in charge use them. Absolutely, Candace Owens, I think Candace Owens is a little crazy at times, to be honest, but she isn't entirely wrong when she talks about the Democrats are still the plantation owners currently, right? They're just trying to cultivate black people into votes at this point. And they use it by keeping them in perpetual poverty. So they always have something they can say, oh, we'll help you. We're going to get you out. We're going to get you out. Those nasty, but they're not going to help you. We'll help you. And you keep them impoverished to make sure they keep voting and voting and voting for you because you're their savior. You're their savior. That's how Democrats operate. Because where are most people who are, where is the majority of the black population? They're in cities, which are run by Democrats. Chicago's been run by Democrats for almost 100 years at this point. Same thing for Detroit. All these cities are run by heavy, heavy leftists, and you see where it's got them. You see where it's got them. Left-wing ideology pushes out family values. It wants to supplant the family unit with the government. And in places where they've succeeded in doing that, you see marriage rates fall tremendously. And where you see marriage rates fall tremendously, you see higher crime, lower education, and lower income. All right? If you want to be successful, if you want your kids to be successful, get married young, have kids young, and that's really about it. If you're married, you will see generational wealth really start to accumulate. I would also add leave cities personally, but that's just me. And so you have a couple more over here. Black men are the likeliest. Is that a word? Likeliest? Is it? No. Likeliest to never been married. Someone needs a editor here. So you see again the chart for the most part, Asians and whites have kind of right around the same here. Hispanic men pretty high, and then black men at the highest right now. 51% of them have never been married. Really sad. Absolutely sad. Black women are less likely to be married than women of other demographics, and they're at 32.4%. That's terrible. It's really terrible to see, and I really do mean it. It is really awful to see because, especially when you can look at the statistics and see that a family union will create prosperity. And you see one group of people who are distancing themselves from the family unit and who the government has gotten involved with to push out the family unit from. It hurts. It hurts. Right? Because that would do more good for the black community than anything else. Having a nuclear family be the common thing in the black community would fix 90% of the problems guaranteed. Is fatherless households are probably the number one problem going on, and frankly, most communities, not just the black community, but even in the white community and the Hispanic community. Not so much, I guess, for the Asian community because they got their nuclear family checked out. They're doing good when it comes to two-parent households over there. But when it comes to most of us, the lack of two-parent households, and you see the trend is still going down on it, that would do more good than anything else you could possibly do. 3 in 10 women have never been married. Just these terrible, terrible statistics you see going on and on and on. How many people are living alone? Currently 11%. I mean, what did you do during COVID, man? Like that had to be torture being by yourself like that. I just can't imagine. Either way, get married, people, man. Get married. So, this was actually interesting, real quick. Since the day about same-sex marriage, so obviously, it doesn't start till, when it was legalized. But you see actually the rate of marriage actually skyrockets around 2012 and 2014, going to 2016. It actually skyrockets for quite a while. Here's the thing. I really don't care. I don't think you should ask the government for permission to get married in the first place. So I'm all for them being allowed to get married. And I'll also say this. I have more of an issue with the girl going out and partying every weekend and sleeping around than I do with a gay couple who's actually married and actually want to settle down with someone who they love. As far as I'm concerned, that gay couple is doing a lot better off than that straight girl that's going around sleeping around, or guy. It doesn't really matter. As far as I'm concerned, the biggest thing that people need to do is get married and have kids. Simple as that. Now, that might, having kids section, obviously a little more difficult for same-sex couples. But getting married, good on them, man. Good on them for actually increasing in their numbers of marriage every year. Just because that's That's good. Again, more people should be getting married. 2-parent households are fantastic. Either way, go over a couple things today. Sorry it's been a little bit chaotic. Still trying to get into the groove of things here. But hey, if you've enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe to a channel. I'll probably clip up some of this stuff, put it out through the rest of next week. Obviously, subscribe on YouTube. We're also on Rumble. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, if you would just like some random gaming BS, about 2 times a week. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be talking again.